Good morning, Acadiana. It's January 29th. It is 6:31. Thank you so much for waking up with us on Good Morning, Acadiana. Icy rain, sleet, it was all coming down yesterday, Dave, and has left us with a whole lot of ice, and I am praying it melts fast. I just want to go home.
Well, we got to get rid of those clouds first, and then the temperatures will finally start to climb, but right now we're still stuck with cloudy skies, and we even still have some precip here right along the coast and points offshore. No precip falling over land, at least here in Acadiana this morning, but because of the snow, the sleet, the freezing rain that we saw yesterday, all of the roadways are ice covered. Not just here in Lafayette. We've been covered with the ice and snow over northern parts of Acadiana pretty much all day yesterday, but we caught up as we got into the afternoon along I-10 and southern sections, and it's not just the bridges and overpasses that have the ice on them. It's the surface streets too, so pretty much traveling is discouraged this morning because it's an ice rink out there and you can't get any traction whatsoever. Temperatures are going to have a hard time climbing up above the freezing point, and a lot of that is going to be dependent on when our cloud cover begins to break up, which might not come until about lunchtime, so we may be pushing 34 as we head into the lunch period, but keep in mind surface streets will probably melt once we hit that 32-degree mark. Elevated roadways, especially the ones that have been closed since yesterday, didn't have traffic going back and forth to kind of erode some of that ice, so it just continued to pile up. So you got a pretty good thick layer of ice, sleet, and snow on some of the elevated roadways. It will take considerably longer to melt that even after the temperature climbs above the freezing point. Now we're at 24 at this time. Notice the cloud cover still out there, and the clouds are probably going to hang around through at least midday and then start to break up later this afternoon. So until our temperatures can get above that 32-degree mark, we're pretty much going to be at a standstill for a while. And then overnight tonight, again, some of the elevated roadways may begin to melt off, but might not melt off completely. And then our temperatures are expected to drop back into the 20s tonight, so we could see some refreezing. So I wouldn't be surprised to see more slick spots out there again tonight and early tomorrow morning. 37 the best we'll do with gradual clearing, probably not hitting 32 until about noontime. Tonight down to 23, tomorrow 54, and then thawing out over the weekend with highs in the 60s and 70s, some rain perhaps Super Bowl Sunday. 6:34, 24 degrees.
And right now, the latest on some road conditions this morning. Again, the right lane of I-10 eastbound in Doosan, that's mile marker 92, and that's around the Doosan Mirror exit. That is closed due to an 18-wheeler accident. Again, that's the right lane. There are no major injuries to report at this time, but again, the right lane is closed, I-10 eastbound in Doosan. Now, as far as weather-related closures and reopenings go, US 190 east of Eunice is now open. It had been closed due to ice. Again, that is now open, and I-10 westbound between Rain and Crowley was closed earlier due to an accident. It is now open as well. Now, some big closures to remind you about. I-10 in Lafayette all the way to New Orleans is still closed in both directions. This, of course, includes the Basin Bridge. Now, Highway 90 is closed between Rain and Crowley, and all Highway 90 overpasses throughout Iberia and St. Mary parishes are closed to traffic. Again, you can find this complete list on KATC.com, and it is changing all throughout the morning, so please stick with us on that. And as soon as we get those updates in about any more closures or roads reopening, is what we really hope to see today, we will keep you posted on those on Facebook and, of course, KATC.com and on the air as well. Tracy.
Thanks, Lizzie. Well, this morning we are continuing to monitor those icy conditions throughout Acadiana. Dave's got a look on the weather, and Kristen is in Lafayette. She's going to tell us what it looks like out there right now. Hi, Kristen.
Good morning, Acadiana. Tracy and Dave. I'm ice skating here at the intersection of Ambassador Caffrey and Cameron Street. If you look behind me, you can see it's very icy out here. The bridge to I-10 is still closed right now, so if you're heading that way, you probably have to take a detour route. The weather is cold as daylight hits, and it's very icy on the roads, so do be careful and have some patience this morning. Live in Lafayette, I'm Kristen Holloway. Back to you in the studio, Tracy.
Oh my goodness, Kristen, please don't fall. It's scary. I did that this morning. Dave, I was very frightened for a moment there. We're joined now on the phone by Trooper Stephen Hammonds. And Stephen, Kristen was on that ice on the surface streets, and that's what you guys are seeing a lot in a lot of different places, right?
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of ice right now on surface streets, not just on those bridges and overpasses where it remained, of course, from yesterday, but now that those roadways have iced over, and it's causing a very hazardous driving situation out there this morning.
Thank you, Stephen. Even though some areas aren't officially closed, you guys are saying just stay off the roads if you can, right?
Exactly. Just because those critical infrastructures that we tried to remain open last night, DOTD, the National Guard, working throughout the night and into the morning to try and make sure they could work to keep those roadways open. Just because those are open does not mean that the surface streets, the state roads or anything would be safe to drive on right now. Certainly it is still a very hazardous driving situation, so we want to encourage people, please stay off of the roads.
Lizzie just ran down the official closures for us, and and she didn't mention I-49, but give us kind of a picture of what's happening on I-49 north of Lafayette for those folks who may be needing to travel into town, especially the essential workers, the hospital workers, those sorts of folks.
Yeah, I-49 north of Lafayette, they have managed to put salt down on the roadway over there so that what we could do is allow that vehicle traffic to continue traveling there, but at a greatly reduced speed. So if you do have to travel there, needs to be at speeds greatly reduced.
We've had a lot of questions on Facebook, folks saying, should I go to work, shouldn't I go to work? And our advice to them has just been to call their supervisors. We can't tell them one way or the other, right?
Yeah, that is correct. That certainly is going to be an issue that they need to take up with a supervisor. But certainly, if you're able to do work from home, please do so. Certainly, we don't want anybody to be unnecessarily out on those roads today. The vehicles that are on the road, we're seeing a lot of crashes coming from those, even though that traffic is light.
Can you tell us anything about that accident on I-10 that happened with the 18-wheeler? Do you know if that had anything to do with the icy conditions?
Yeah, certainly we're looking at that, but that ice is certainly a considerable factor in why vehicles have been running off the road, not just this morning, but throughout the night and from yesterday.
All right, Stephen, thank you so much, and we will, of course, be in touch with Trooper Stephen Hammonds throughout the day today. Stephen, you guys be safe out there.
Thank you very much.
All right. Some employees have been working throughout the night outside in the freezing cold, trying to keep those major roadways open. As Stephen Hammond said, our Stephen Albritton reports on who is out braving the temps to keep us safe.
With each scoop of the shovel, the National Guard and DOTD work together to keep roadways safe while fighting the bitter cold well into the night.
Some of our sister units up in the north have had to do this, but this far south, this is very different from us.
By hand, these Guard members have spread more than 15,000 pounds of salt, focusing on bridges. But as these soldiers help us, they are leaving their own lives behind at the same time. Specialist Joseph Davey has only managed a few hours of sleep after working more than 10 hours Monday and then immediately being called in.
We do this because we enjoy doing this. We enjoy helping the public. If we don't do it, nobody's going to do it.
Usually deployed for assistance with a tropical disturbance, this blast of winter weather is a whole new ballgame.
It's interesting, actually, just to see how the general population down here responds to icy weather. It's interesting. That's all I can say about it.
But the cold isn't stopping them from completing their mission. One scoop at a time.
If you don't have to be on the road, I know Rob has said it before, if you don't have to be on the road, stay home.
In Lafayette, Stephen Albritton, KATC TV3.
And a reminder about school closures. Of course, all public and Catholic schools in Acadiana are closed today. That includes school board offices. When it comes to higher education, UL will be closed today. LSUE will also be closed, as will SLCC. Also, all campuses of South Central Louisiana Technical College will be closed today. In terms of state offices, you can find a list of those as well as local and parish government office closures on our website, as well as any other information about closures throughout Acadiana and the state. Time now is 6:41. Still to come on GMA. How did the GOP respond last night to the State of the Union address? Well, we'll hear from them in just a bit. And a massive house fire erupts in Breaux Bridge last night. We'll take a look in this morning's Parish by Parish headlines.
You turn to the news for a lot of different reasons, and to have the show that gives you something that you can apply to your real life.
It was great because we didn't think world news was going to teach us how to make money.
It was awesome.